Hey everyone, a very good morning to each and every one of you, or good evening, good night. Take it according to time zone since all of us are virtually connected. Before I actually introduce myself and start presenting my talk, I would like to thank DEFCON for making sure we are having DEFCON this year also. And in the times when things are not going good and when everyone is hit by this pandemic. So huge shout out to everyone who are behind the DEFCON this year, what the event organizer and each and everyone. Also, it gives an excuse for us to keep ourselves distracted from what's happening in the world, and we share our learnings together. So again, thanks a lot, DEFCON, and thank you, Cloudlist, for accepting my proposal, which I will be going to talk about in the next 40 minutes. Uh, so I will just share my screen and you know quickly introduce myself to everyone, and then I will jump on the content. I hope the slides are visible. Uh, so the title that we have for today talk is about shift left using cloud, implementing baseline security into your development lifecycle. So before I directly jump into the topic, let me create a base for this talk. You know, we have seen so many startups coming up, and there's an essence of following in an agile culture when where there's a continuous iteration of development happening throughout your agile cycle. There's continuous testing happening throughout your software development life cycle, and when where there is constant collaboration actually happening with multiple stakeholders, with various requirements and improvements coming and happening at every stage of SDLC. Uh, and in this fast moving ecosystem, there are engineers who are releasing their changes very frequently, and all of these actually makes the chances of those security loopholes to become more and more real. When we talk about, especially in the startup world, when we talk about swift pace of development where this more code is written and more releases are made each and every day, which always introduces more unknown vulnerabilities uh, and unknown dependencies at each step, and which eventually leads to consuming more time and effort to actually fix them, which is more likely you are revising your complete SDLC cycle. uh, according to a study, if we apply a Pareto principle to this SDLC cycle, it says that the 18% of bugs, 80% of bugs can be fixed during the 20% of software development lifecycle, which is what brings us to the need of scaling security with following shift left approach. So, introduction about myself. Myself, Avinash. You can find me on Twitter with handle as LogicBomb. You can find my blogs over Medium with the same handle. I am a security engineer by mind, into security community for last 6 years. Currently working with Microsoft, managing security of Microsoft Identity Platform. I am a cricket player by heart. I hardcore cricket player, and I often watch football if there are any UCL matches coming up. Active blogger on Medium, where you can find my journey, into ethical hacking, finding vulnerabilities, studying about various other parameters of security. I usually present my views and through my blogs, so you can find them over Medium. I break stuff to learn. This is what I've been doing for last 6 years. To actually learn from around. Uh, Actually find vulnerabilities in different systems, web application, mobile application, and actually learn out of it. Overall, I'm a nice guy. So if you want to chat up with me, if you want to talk about security, cricket, football, or anything related to that, feel free to ping me. If you are a Messi fan, I will avoid you because I am a CR7 fan. Yeah, so this is about a little bit about myself. No, but in the first slide, when I presented the title of the talk, where you have seen the word shift left. Now let's understand what is this shift left actually means. So here there are two pictures. The one picture is of traffic light, which is actually turning red to stop the vehicles. And then there's a picture of rainbow in which there are 7 colors of rainbow, which is very pure. There's one thing common in both of this picture. So if you look closely, you will find the common thing is the red color. Red color is being used in traffic light to halt the traffic, and similarly, the red color comes at the end of the rainbow. Now, if we think the reason why red color being used in traffic and red color comes at the end of the rainbow from the physics part, it is because it has the largest wavelength. So it is a larger wavelength, that means it can travel to the further distance, and it as it travels to the further distance, that means it goes away from the source, that is it moves to the right side of it. So as we move towards the left side, that means we are bringing something uh, close to the source, which is what physics says what is shift left. Now they say another definition to shift left. We in the computer background we have studied about bitwise operator. So if we apply bitwise operator of 2 or left shift operator of 2 to 25 number, the resultant amount, the resultant number becomes 100. That means when if we apply a left shift operator to a actual number, the resultant that we get is considerably increases to a very large amount. So if we apply both of this concept into security, this is what it comes out to be. Shift left insecurity refers to the measures implemented to ensure that all the security concerns which are taken into consideration during the whole application development lifecycle rather than at the end of the process. The goal of the shift left security is to identify and resolve all those potential vulnerabilities which occur earlier in your development pipeline, and when the issues are less expensive to fix. Uh, some of the direct add-ons, some of the direct benefits it provides is it gives a much better opportunity to see the security outcomes coming into your product sooner, whether it's requirement or suggestion or advice at an earlier stage. It also saves the overall time and effort and overall cost up to your product delivery. It brings your improved testing and monitoring and response to support your drift in security. And also it's completely helps to implement security adherence and adoption amongst engineers. This is what a shift left culture brings about. When you bring security to the left side, that is when you bring security to the left side, or as a cycle, when you bring security to the source where actual code from being written and from where the idea is being generated of any release or future development. This is what in computer world, in security world, we call shift left. So when we bring security to the closer to the source from where actually the code being written, or when release ideas and future ideas are implemented, that means a shift left approach in security. Security should not be treated as an afterthought. This is what it shift left bring us to it. It should be brought as close to its engineers and as early in your SDLC cycle. When we bring, as I said, when we bring something close to the source, in this context, when we bring security closer to the source, we call it shift left security. Now, I talked about when I was giving the definition of shift left, there are two not hypothetical, but there's two non-security definition which I included. Now I will combine those definitions to actually tell you what exactly shift left brings in the security world. So if you remember, the third slide said that when we apply a bit shift left shift operator to one number, the resultant amount considerably increases. Similarly here, when we bring shift left security, when we become more preventive towards the security loopholes and security engineering, the overall cost reduces by a much by a much large amount, and the overall effectiveness of your development of your release increases. So as you move towards the preventive, measures from corrective, the overall effectiveness obviously increases, and at the end, the overall cost of product delivery decreases by a vast amount. Now we will talk about how we can implement this security into your deployment lifecycle. In order to do this well, the most logical part where security can be done are the source code reviews. Similarly, just like developers and engineers do the code reviews of the code, they leave their comments, and the developer again resolve those comments and push their changes. Similarly, the most logical place where you can implement your security is the code reviews. But actually, not only just you are reviewing code from non-security point of view, but you are actually reviewing your code from security point of view also. Now the series of question rises, like how it can be achieved, how we can make sure that each and every release which is going to the production environment, or which is getting deployed, are being security tested. There's minimal security flaws, just like there's no non-security flaws when it goes to the when any release of feature goes to the production environment. How we can make sure that each and every release, or each and every feature, or each and every change which is going to your version control system has a proper security sign off. The third question which it brings is how we can make sure that we are testing each and every piece of code, not just from the SaaS perspective, not just from the source code vulnerability or static code analysis, but following a very wide range of security testing, whether it is dynamic testing, linting, or other type of test cases. We will be talking about it, how we can achieve it in your deployment lifecycle, and we'll be talking specifically to the AWS code pipeline. Now, what is AWS code pipeline? AWS code pipeline, it is a continuous delivery service which you can use to model and visualize and automate the steps required to actually release your software. There are three components in AWS code pipeline. First is AWS code commit, which is a managed source code repository service provided by AWS, just like you have GitHub or Bitbucket. Then this second component, which is code build. Code build is a very important component of AWS code pipeline, which is a fully managed continuous integration service which compiles your source code, runs various tests, and finally generates a software package which is ready to deploy. And then there is a third component, which is code deploy, which is a fully managed deployment service that automates your complete software deployment thing, and deploy it to a variety of computing services. So you can deploy it to Amazon EC2, Fargate, Lambda, or even your on-premises servers. So this is what the three component of AWS CI/CD, AWS code pipeline looks, which is a CI/CD service provided by AWS. And this is just a basic, basic architecture of AWS code pipeline looks like. When developer push any change to the code bases, they have webhooks which are indicated. I will be talking about this earlier in the slides. And AWS code pipeline actually listen to it at the real time. Whenever they have any changes made to your code repository, it triggers it check out the source code, then it runs AWS build stuff where it actually compile your source code, run various type of tests, and then package it in the format in the form to deploy over using AWS code deploy service. We talk about webhook. We in the last slide we have seen webhook configured URL. So these webhooks are the heart of this continuous code hacking, which is we are going to see. This is the one of the major component through which we at the real time listen to whatever changes being made to the code repositories, so that AWS code pipeline listen to it, and on the real time take action. On the real time, it find out if there's any security flaws or perform very kind of security tests or non-security tests. So webhooks are the heart of this continuous code hacking, the theme that we are going to now see. AWS code build, as I said, AWS code build is one of the most important feature of code build of code pipeline. We can add as many as build stages as you want into your AWS CI/CD pipeline. Uh, Instead of waiting for security at the end of the deployment process, now you can include those security checks seamlessly within your developer workflow using AWS code build. You can write there's a particular format where you can write your test cases in YAML format and integrate as many as security test cases, as many as non-security test cases, whatever you want to include before your release being pushed to deployment stage. Code build consists of three components. There are basically three parts in code build. When you write a build spec file of code build, so code build runs by reading steps written into its build spec file. And this build spec file actually contains three major subparts. One is pre-build, build, and post-build. Uh, just to simplify, build spec is you can think about build spec is as a collection of build commands, and and where it's kind of setting written in YAML format. This is the file where you actually define your command and scripts and all the steps to perform several security checks or non-security checks. What kind of test that you want to perform. So pre-build, where you actually set up your dependencies. You're setting up all your dependencies, third-party libraries, and actually pull your scanners to run. Then there's a build stage where you are actually running those tools and scanners. You will be passing those results. And then there's post build where you will be, where you can perform the extra task over your result that you got from your scanner tools. You can even push a result to your SNS, or you can send out alerts, or you can even call Lambda through it. So this is how a typical build spec looks like. In the earlier slides, in the coming slides, I will be giving you example how a build spec file looks like. Here is a build spec of Git secret, which basically scans your any changes you are making to your code repository to find if there's any secrets present in your change in your code repository. So if you see the first phase is pre-build, where I'm actually setting up all the libraries, downloading the tool. Which here I'm using Trufflehawk to scan secrets. Then I'm actually running the tool in the build step, and in the final post build, I am actually pushing those results to somewhere and communicating that now the test cases are performed, or if there any security vulnerability or any Git secret being found out, I can actually fail the build, or I can even whatever action that I want to make on the result that I'm getting, I can do it on the post build section. Now the capabilities that it provides, this complete framework provides, you can scan your source code for vulnerabilities. You can perform static code scanning. You can even perform dash scanning, where you can dynamically test your security applications. You can also analyze external dependencies present in your code changes. If someone pushing any changes and those changes are actually including installing or setting up different libraries and different dependencies, you can actually scan them from security point of view. You can even detect secrets which are being pushed through the developer PR. So at the real time, when anyone is pushing any changes to their code bases, it detects as and when if there's any secret present in their change in their PR, and on the basis of it, you can have to take action whether to fail the build or success the build, which I'm going to show in the later slides. There are additional capabilities which you can build, because code build, you basically you write your own code build spec file. So it is in your hand whatever test cases you want to perform, or whatever generic standard or custom checks you want to prevent, you want to include. So here I have included various kind of other test cases like Docker file denting, where the tool actually checks for if there's any Docker file present in the code, in the PR, and then find out if that particular Docker file is being written in a security following a security standard or not. And also you can check whether if a developer or engineer using Docker base image which is not a whitelisted base image according to you, or which is not an official base image which your organization permit, you can actually detect those things also by writing it in a YAML format in the form of code build. This is what a DevSecOps pipeline architecture looks like for it. I will take you through the all stages of it. So for the first step is where actually the code being committed to your code repositories. Here, for an example, if any developer pushes the change to GitHub, it triggers the code pipeline. I told you earlier, code pipeline integrates webhooks in your code repository to actually find out on the real time if there are any changes made to it. So if there's any change made to your code repositories, the AWS code pipeline listen to it and it triggers the other section of it. As soon as code pipeline get triggered, it runs all the AWS code build tests that you have written. Here I included various kind of security checks. You can even include non-security checks and whatever tests you want to perform on the compiled source code. And then on the later step, I call the Lambda service, which actually push those results to a vulnerability management system. You can even pass those result and push it to your Slack notifications or to your Gmail or to other mailboxes. And similarly, I have done alerting and reporting over mail using SNS and using AWS Security for vulnerability management. So in short, whenever any developer now make any changes to their code repository, code pipeline listen to it at the real time through GitHub webhooks. It triggers the pipeline. It goes to the code build where it performs various kind of test cases, whether it is DAS, SAS, secret scanning, Docker linter, dependency scanning, and whatnot. Like you can include more checks into it. Then it calls serverless Lambda to perform additional tasks on those search the results or on the result that you got from the code build. I Here I'm using AWS Security for vulnerability management, which is what a unique part of this pipeline architecture. You won't like there are not much many tools available there or much research available where people are using something for the vulnerability management. Now we have got all the vulnerabilities from DAS and SAS. Now what to do? And now here the unique part is this: Lambda calls the AWS Security Hub, and it pushes those results to AWS Security Hub for vulnerability management. So now all the vulnerabilities are at the single place. You don't need to go to other dashboard, or you don't need to leave your AWS cloud to find out what all vulnerabilities being found out in your source code. And then it calls SNS service to send out mails, to send out alerts over mails, and you can even use Slack. You can even push your results over Slack and other communication channel as well. This is example of how secret scanning looks like. Here you can see on the real time the code build find out if there's any secret present in the code change which is made by a developer. So here you can see there are various different kind of secrets which were present in the file which being modified by the developer and raised as a PR. Here is an example of dependency checker. So if any developer or any engineer making changes on their code repository where they are including third-party libraries or third-party dependencies, it actually find out if there's any vulnerabilities present on those dependencies or not, whether those versions are vulnerable or outdated. And you can see this result like this on in the console of your AWS code build. You can even include AWS. You can even include Docker lint to actually lint your Docker file to find out if the developer are not, are not following non-security protocol while writing their Docker file. We have seen various cases where Docker, where developers mount root directory onto a container. So actually, if your container is compromised, obviously now host will be compromised as well. And there are other very kind of bad practices which developer tend to use now, but because of using Docker lint, you can prevent those changes being made to the code repository and push to the production environment before it gets too late for you. So it also it gives you a very in a nicer view and also a very early view to fix the things. Here, how the result looks like for static code scanning. You can use various kind of open source tool for it. You can even use various paid services for to perform source code scanning. I've used Sonar Cloud, which actually now listening to any change which is made to the code repository and finding out if there's any source code vulnerability is present in the code or not, or whether the code is being written in a bad security format, whether there's no non-security protocol being followed, and what are non-security, what are bad practices being followed by developer while writing the code. So it gives all this result in a very nicer format. You can perform desk scanning also. I use OFZAP to perform to scan the final released application uh, before it actually get deployed to the production environment to find out if there's any any application vulnerabilities present there from the top 10 OFs list. And it like in this example you can see an access is being found out in the tested URL. So yeah, you can include even test scanning into your code pipeline. The other capabilities that additional to the security test cases, the other capabilities that this framework provides you is the reporting part. Now you can share all this report and status of your code build or of your code pipeline to Slack or mailboxes. You can even individually tag people who are making those changes to make sure that they are fixing and they are the accountable person to fix it, or the accountable person to modify the code according to the best security practices. It also provides alerting. You can alert your engineers about your build success or failure. If there are any security vulnerabilities present into your code, into your changes, the AWS code build gets failed, and you can trigger the mailers and messages to mailbox of users or Slack communication to tell them that build has actually failed because it contains security vulnerabilities in your code, in your actual code. The third thing, which is one of the unique thing which I included here, is vulnerability management. Now, your engineers or developers or your security team don't need to go to a separate tool or third party tool or any open source tool to integrate with the AWS code pipeline. You can all the findings now are managed over AWS Security Hub for vulnerability management. You can find each and every vulnerabilities which are being found out by your code build test cases and in AWS Security Hub in a single look. You can go through it and find out what all vulnerabilities been found. You can even, if you want to, extend it to a higher version, you can even tag people and send out the links to all Slack and mailboxes. So these are the three additional capabilities which it provides. As I said, reporting over Slack channels, you can actually report vulnerabilities over your Slack channel where your developer can at real time can see what security vulnerability is being found out when they are actually making those changes and pushing those changes in the code repository. You can check they can even get build state over their mailboxes. This is not parsed, but you can easily parse them and beautify it to tell your engineers and developer to whether the build is failed or passed depending on the security vulnerabilities being found out by your code build or not. Vulnerability management over AWS Security Hub. As I said, you can push it to AWS Security Hub where you can view each and every vulnerabilities at a single place. You can even assign it. You can mark it false positive. You can mark it true positive, whatever you want. You can even change the severity level if you think that the tool it comes out to be a false positive or it ceases to be low priority according to business. So you can go ahead and change the severity level. So yeah, this is one of the great feature which I really appreciate about it. Some of the benefit that it provides, obviously, it is real time. Everything happening here is real time. When any developer triggering any code changes, all those security test cases are happening at the real time. Now, developer don't need to wait whether the changes being made to the code repository and then they are deployed to the production environment. Then security team is coming to test it. Now at the real time and during the code review time, all those security changes and all those code changes being tested from the security point of view. Reporting, obviously, all those return status can be shared across different communication channels. You can send it over mailboxes or Slack, and make sure that your engineers and developer are aware of it at a real time. It is highly flexible. It is highly modular. That means you can include as much as security checks you want to include, but just writing a build spec file in a YAML format, and it has a very standard interface, which can easily you can integrate it with Lambda and other service. It is completely automated. Now you don't need to go and manually test things manually for security stuff. Obviously, like they are manual effort required because like because not everything covered by automation. So, but obviously, the large portion of security vulnerabilities now being covered because we have included vast security checks from DAS, SAS to Docker linting, security scanning, and various other carbon tests. So it is completely automated. You don't need to go and manually trigger it and manually see what if there's any secret present or if the code containing any source code vulnerabilities or what else. Fifth, vulnerability management. I've been talking about it since it is a very very unique thing which we have seen here. You can manage your vulnerabilities at a single place using AWS Security Hub, and you can see what all vulnerabilities being found out when actual code changes are being made by your developers. I will be showing a short demo, and I actually recorded it. Didn't want that it fails while I present it, so I will just uh, display it. So here's the code pipeline. So now, if any change being made to the code repositories, all these test cases are being run. So if there's any developer who are making changes to their GitHub repository, uh, code pipeline will listen it to the real time using GitHub webhooks, and all these checks being run, whether it is desk scanning, you can see they are desk scanning and dependent scanning, other type of test scan, or also return desk scanning and Docker based image check, and wide variety of checks which you can include. uh, I will show you an example of Docker lint file. So if there's a developer who made change to their code repository which actually contain a Docker file. So now, using code build, you can actually lint those Docker file and find out if there's any bad security practices being used by the developer. Here, I'm not sure whether it is nicely visible, but here I actually used a tool which is known as HydroLint to lint a Docker file to find out whether the changes which is being pushed by developer is actually containing Docker file, and if it is containing Docker file, then what are the security non security bad practices being used by the developer, and it suggests the suggestion also to the developers that what they should do to get away with this security vulnerability. Here it says that you're using latest version in your Docker file. You should use a version rather than using a tag latest, because version gives tells you what explicit version being used, while latest doesn't tell you what is the version name. So yeah, this is a result of your Docker file, Docker lint. Then going forward, this is the result of your source dependency scanning. Here you can see when developer is making those changes, and those changes actually containing different third-party libraries and dependencies. It find out whether those versions are including containing any vulnerabilities, and whether those versions are vulnerable, and it lists all those vulnerabilities in a JSON format, which you can even parse and beautify it to present for developers. Similarly, you can see the result of source scanning. Here you can see what all static code vulnerability being found out using Sonar Cloud, which I've used here, and tell developer that your code is missing some good security best practices, and you're using very bad security language to actually build to write your code. So yeah, this is about the short demo. I really apologize. The things are not visible. Didn't want to take a risk. So yeah. So yeah, this is about the quick demo, and this is about my talk. I hope you actually learned something about from it. Here are my credentials. If you want to ping me on Twitter, my handle is logico_1. You can actually drop me a mail over my mail ID, which is avinash.logicom@gmail.com, and I will be happy to take your queries even after this talk. And yeah, that's it from the talk. I hope you really liked it. I hope there are things which you have actually learned from it. And I really apologize if the video demo was not quite visible. And I will try to open source. There's a chance, there are high chances where I will be open source this complete framework. I'm still in the process of writing it and making it more automated in a way that don't need to uh, don't need to write your building YAML file, or don't need to create that framework. You just need to run a cloud formation template and it creates a complete uh, architecture for you. So keep following. The tool will be coming up. This open source tool will be coming up in some near time. So yeah, thanks a lot for being a patient listener, and apologize if something went wrong. And yeah, this is from my side. Thanks a lot, guys. I will be available here for live Q&A. So if you have any question, you can put it here, and I will love to answer them. Thank you.